What are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. Looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it. So whatever it was that was standing up, I'm out here looking through the window now and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better. Sheriff, Tia,
Hello?
get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right.
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Oh, and the guy is on foot.
I don't know what, it's a big, real big person, that's all I can say.
Okay, but it is a person.
Yeah, I'd say it was a person or somebody really big. But he's all in black.
Is he a black male or a white male? Did you actually see what it, or was he just wearing black?
He's all black and he's big. He is big.
Well, hello everyone from the remote jungles of Clinton Falls, Indiana. This is Larry Battson. It is Friday night. To be more specific, June the 19th. What an absolutely glorious day we had here in our part of the country. Hope you had a glorious one as well. Hello, Carrie and Perry. Always nice to see them. Debbie, nice to have you along. Kitty, nice to have you with us. Loretta, hello to New York. And it's great to have so many people that enjoy our Friday night broadcast. It's been very, very popular, and we feel so blessed. I am glad to be back. So we had a program Wednesday night, but on that program I mentioned that many of you may probably do not know, I went through surgery a week ago Tuesday to have a massive cancer taken off of my left kidney, we're told. And I got the call from the doctor Wednesday, Thursday, and they said, the pathologist said, I am now cancer-free. So that was a blessing, and thank you for all the prayers and all the kind things that were said over those weeks that we've endured. But hey, everything's cool. I'm in a fantastic mood on a Friday night. How could you not be? It's Friday night, June, summertime. Tomorrow is Saturday. Some of you are already out in the woods right now. You're out in the woods around your campfires, anticipating to see what kind of trouble you can muster up with you and the big guy. I know. Hello, Shannon. Nice to have you back, or have you with us. I'm breathing. Hello, Bob Spencer. Perry asked if you're feeling all right. I have to confess, I'm feeling pretty darn good. I'm feeling pretty darn good, and it's been an eventful time for me. I have to confess, between my kidney procedure then and going back a week and a half later and having a robot do the surgery, I've been told. And so everything's good with me. I'll tell you that right now. Looking forward. Hi, Jacqueline. And we're so happy to tell you, Jacqueline. I'm going to tell you because it's been, yeah. It's been a whirlwind. But as always, on Friday nights, we know what we talk about. We talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch. I'm always open to any questions or reports that you have. You can even, let me see if I've got my hotline even figured out here. Oh, I do. So if we have someone with something exciting they'd like to tell us, and I'm sure there's several, we'll have you call in, we'll chat. I'm not on any time schedule. As I've been told by my physician and my wife, I'm supposed to rest. So Cheryl says, go as long as you can tonight, and I'm feeling pretty darn good. I'm afraid you're going to have me probably for the entire hour. So be warned. Be warned. I'm going to tell you that right now. And we'll have fun. We've had lots of inquiries on our Footers Forum. Footers Forum. That is our Facebook page on Bigfoot Sasquatch. Footers Forum. Please like the page because Cody Herring, he's the backbone, he's the beast behind it. And he's done such a wonderful job, and we've been able to post lots of great stuff. But Footers Forum, it's all fun, it's all friends. I have to emphasize that. Fun and friends. So, and if you have a report you'd like to give us, we would like to hear it. That's the truth. Mark and Twyla, hello kids, nice to see you. Thank you very much. You sound great, Uncle Larry. Love it. Keep it up. Love you guys. Well, we love you too. And we just had a glorious visit with my lifelong friend David and his wife Sheila, and we had a chance to sit around. And how many times do you go to someone's house and you have a chance to sit around and have conversation with a 11-and-a-half-year-old olive baboon? And we did. Oh, we had a grand time. They brought her a stuffed toy. And you know, when I don't ever want to hear, I don't want to ever read on any of these things, dumb animals, because I'm telling you right now, they brought her a little stuffed bear. And they were carrying it up to her. And oh, Elizabeth, she saw that bear and she knew, she could look in their eyes. She could tell that was for her. And when she grabbed that bear, she held it like a little baby and she cradled it. And of course, that's a baboon sound. And it was just awesome. And then, heck, they brought her a stuffed bear. They're friends. So Elizabeth proceeded to go over. We were sitting there in our little area outside there. And she proceeded to go over to David and sit on his foot. Just like, you know, I've known you forever. And it was very, very cool. So, yeah, so we had a wonderful afternoon. But we're going to be talking Bigfoot, and I have lots to say. I got in trouble. I did. I got in trouble. Not big trouble. Come on. Let me express something once to all the people that are watching tonight. And we're talking Bigfoot tonight. We want to hear from you. It's a hobby, brother. It's a hobby. If somebody tells you a report and doesn't quite get the year right, or maybe not the exact location, it's a hobby. Sorry, I lost control. Hello, Walt. Hello, Lori. I almost died there. Hold on. I need assistance from my co-host, the Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device, and always part of our programs. Tonight, it is filled with Crystal Light tea or lemonade, not tea, lemonade, and I would highly recommend it. Absolutely fantastic. What else I would highly recommend as we delve into our conversation tonight? Hello, world. You know, I'm an artist. Laurie has this one now, but we have our prints available, and they are for sale. This is Sasquatch, and they are for sale, and all the money goes to our animal family, our educational animals, the ones that go to school, like baboons and so forth, and alligators, and a plethora of livestock. So that's one of the prints we have available. Just message me either through Larry Battson or Larry the Animal Guy and Friends. I think you can message me through Footers Forum. Should be able to. I think so. And then we have Feel Like Something Watching. Feel Like Something Watching you, huh? Did you? Feel like something watching you? Feel like something peeking in that window at you? Oh, my God. That one's also available, so let me know. Hi, Adam. I try to be careful. Becky says, I'm late to the party. How are you feeling? Well, I'm feeling pretty darn good, Becky. As I told the other listeners and viewers, that I received a call from our doctor middle of the week, my physician, and the pathology report on the mask that they took off my my kidney was cancer, but it wasn't. It's only 2.5 centimeters, which in English is an inch, and they got it all. So I don't have to do any chemo or any of that stuff too. So that's a good thing for the animal guy. Shannon's got that one too. Hi, Christy. Nice to have you with us. Shannon and Lori are proud owners of Sasquatch. Sasquatch. You know, there's some people like, all he does is try and sell stuff on here. Well, it's like television. You know, that's what they try to do. Try to sell stuff. We have these really cool bracelets before we dig in here. I don't know if I can find them in the dark. You know, around this old campfire, it's kind of hard to see. Might bump into a snake or something, or a possum, and I can't find them. But Cheryl makes these beautiful bracelets that say Sasquatch and Bigfoot, and we will have them depending on its happening. Is at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, which is April. It might be April. No, it's August the 15th, and I'll be along. You know, the times we should just start over. I'll be at one of the speakers. So, for the people that yelled at me, and I said it's just a hobby. It's just a hobby. What did they yell at me about? Well, let's see here. They said that I was a blowhard, and that because I didn't think that the structure they meant much, which it doesn't, not unless you see a Sasquatch build one, or you find footprints. Hi, Lee, nice to have you with us. You find footprints around a structure that was supposedly built. I'm looking at these structures sometimes and I go, wait a minute, how can an 8-9-foot animal fit in that? How does that happen? And also, I did not have any interest in orbs floating through the sky and the forest with the big feet. So I was not right for not expressing my thoughts about that. Well, I did express them. I said it doesn't mean anything. So anyway. And Kitty says, got to make money to feed all your animals during quarantine. Well, that's right. Hello, brother in Kentucky. Lee is a great listener. He's here with us every week. Follower. My friend Dave says, I watch every week. I don't, you know, there's not much to look at. You know, he has a point there. Maybe if we get a little bit more modern technology, I can flash pictures up and stuff. We're working on that. But we'll see how that goes. But anyway, getting through all the riffraff, I was brought back to my good friend Eric Altman. He said he might be around tonight. He's a top researcher from Pennsylvania. Known Eric for a number of years. One of the nicest guys you will meet in the Bigfoot world. And he was one of the first people to buy in the 80s. I put out what we called audio journals. And I would record Bigfoot stories and tell Bigfoot stories on these cassette tapes. And I sent them all over the country. And I only did 4 volumes because it was a lot of work. And then I just got so busy with so many things, I just found it impossible. Now they do it on several of these things I've seen on the internet. I've even heard some of my own stories being, which I consider a compliment. So we did that for years. And one of the things that we've talked about it on this program so much, is my good friend who lives in Conneaut, Ohio, and all the reports that he'd had for many, many years, and all the occurrences and the things of Bigfoot and Sasquatch that have basically surrounded his home. And for the first few years, his life was not very pleasant. Not very pleasant because he didn't know exactly what he was dealing with. He'd find the things like the apples stripped from the trees and no apples left on the ground in one night. He'd find the fawn torn in half. One half would be left in his yard one morning. The second, or the other part of the fawn would be left in the yard the next morning. Went on for years and years. Until finally he realized, he said, you know, these Sasquatches, there's something very special with this. He says, we are dealing with something that's highly intelligent, smarter than most of us would even conceive, and also physically stronger, coordinated beyond our capabilities. And when we walk into the forest, we're just kind of like a useless piece of flesh. Because let's face it, folks, if we walked into the forest, ourselves and I, what's it, you know, just us, and survived off the land, most of us would be gone very quickly. But think about this. Animals do that. And the champion of all animals that do this is the Sasquatch. Now, I have said this before, and I've repeated myself many, many times. This is not an ape. My good friend, John Green, he always had the idea that it was an ape. No. Now my night is complete. Because joining us from northern Indiana, Annabelle is checking in. We're happy to see you tonight. God answers prayers. Annabelle, just between me and you, this is just between us. Your father told me about the prayers you had given me, all the prayers you had said about me during church and around your dinner table, and how you thought so much of me. And that made me very, very humble. It made me very happy. But I knew something. I had this force from northern Indiana that I believe is going to be in the first grade this year, behind me. And when I sat there ready to go into surgery, or lay down on that gurney or whatever they call it, I knew it was going to be okay. I knew it was going to be all right. And when that doctor called me the middle of this week and told me what he had done, he had taken out part of my kidney, and he had also taken out a cancerous mass. But thank goodness we have caught it in time. Thank goodness we caught it this early, that now I was cancer-free. And I truly believe that all the prayers that I received from hundreds of people the last couple of weeks, and especially the prayers I received from a little girl up in northern Indiana, who I consider one of my best friends, there's just no words to say about it, except thank you very much, Annabelle. It's you know, it's your fault. They're going to have to listen to me for a while longer. It's your fault that I'll be telling these Bigfoot stories, and there will be people with nightmares and children not able to sleep. But we love Annabelle. She's just the best. So we're talking to Conneaut, Ohio. We're talking about my friend. And he had to deal with this. He had to deal with the unknown. One of the most, I was given a hard time. I made the mistake. I didn't make the mistake. I did a interview for someone's blog podcast, and they asked me about Dogman. I said, I don't have time for Bigfoot, let alone throw another one in the pile, a Dogman. Well, I thought I was being rather selfish. And guess what? I don't care. I absolutely do not care. But I've seen all of these and heard all these strange encounters with things I cannot understand. I understand completely the Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Is it a descendant from prehistoric man? It might be. It might be. It has abilities of speech, has an amazing voice. It can imitate just about anything. It has an incredible eyesight where day or night it sees everything. Nothing can hide from it. Even in your best camo or your best weed head hat, can't hide from them. They know you're there. They smell you. They smell you instantly. The moment you walk into the forest, they smell you. But when my friend in Conneaut, Ohio, told me this, it had been several years after I'd known him that he finally said, Larry, he said, here's something I've never told anyone. I said, okay. He says, one night, I was sitting on my porch, and I looked over at one of my barns, and I could see a shadow moving along the side of the barn. I couldn't see what it was. So I sat there, and I waited with such anticipation that I was going to have a chance to maybe get a pretty darn good look at a live Sasquatch, Bigfoot. I was finally going to have a chance to see what they named Charlie, that family. They named him Charlie. Of course, there was more than one. I was going to get a good look at him. And I was anticipating that because the light was perfect coming off my security light. It shined down across my yard, and it walked out from behind that barn. Off the side of that barn, it was going to be in the light, and I was going to see it. But I had no idea what I was going to see. Because he said, out of those shadows walked one of the most grotesque, fearsome, ugly faces I had ever seen. And it looked at me and it just grimaced. And then when I took another step, I could see it wasn't a Sasquatch. It was half man, half horse. And he said, when that thing took off, he said, I could not believe the speed that it ran. And he thought, my gosh, my property around here is becoming a crypto zoo. And he said all summer long, they would find these huge, enormous horse prints in the jumbo woods behind his home. One summer. And after that one summer, they saw them no more. When I was in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, to speak to scientists and zoologists and nature center runners and biologists, zoologists at the National Conservation Training Center in Shepherdstown there. I gave a Bigfoot program. I had a couple men that come up from South Carolina. That's the second trip they had made because they came up the week earlier thinking that was the date we were going to be doing our program, and found out it was a week later. So they went home 400 miles and they drove back again. And when I got there, they looked me up. They said, hey, I have something I want to show you. Okay. I'd heard the story. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they knew that these guys had done that. Come up, found out it was the wrong date, then drove back to South Carolina, then come back up. So we go to their car and they open up the trunk, and they had them wrapped up in towels so they wouldn't break, and they opened them up, and they had the castings of one of the craziest looking feet they had two castings of the craziest looking feet I had ever seen. And I'm looking at these castings. These feet were three-toed, but they looked like a lizard with a long claw on the end of each toe. And I'm looking at that. I said, wait here, guys, I'm gonna go get somebody. So I take off and I find somebody with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I wanted them to see this. And the guys told us a story. They said we'd hear these god-awful screams, and he said we'd hear it tearing off cypress bark off the trees. Then we'd hear it running through the swamp. We never would see him. We couldn't get close enough to him. But one time when they ran off through the swamp, they left us a couple of good tracks. We made these castings, and they were phenomenal. The detail was amazing. And the fellow from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, he walks up and I says, Jim, I said, what do you look at those? What do you think of that? And he looked down and he stared at those. It seemed like a minute or two without saying a word. And he said, that's screwed up. He said, that is screwed up. And he walked away and yeah, I know. So anyway, hello, Lisa. No, it's Lisa. Hello, I love my paranormal and I'm getting into Bigfoot now. I also love hearing your experience you have had. Well, thank you, Lisa. Where are you from? We'd always like to know where people are watching or listening from. Send us a message. Love to know that. And because we've got Arkansas, we've got Louisiana here tonight. Yeah, I look back through there. There's Kentucky, um, California. Oh my gosh, all over the country. So that's absolutely fantastic. And I have to confess, folks, we've had amazing response from our Friday night program. And I appreciate it very, very much. But my friend in Ohio saw this. Now, let me explain what he does. He's a tool and die maker. He absolutely does not care about being Mr. Bigfoot. Kentucky here as well. Hello, Christy. Nice to have you with us tonight. He has no interest in that. You know, we know there's guys that will be the big Bigfoot celebrities. You know, I'll tell you how I fell into this. A library once, years ago, asked me to do a talk. And that's what started it all. After I still researched it. I collected stories and this, that, but yeah. And then when I realized that I always have to figure out a way to feed our animals, so maybe this might be a fun avenue to do that. So here we are. And if you'd like to contribute to our animal family, we would greatly appreciate it. PayPal, Battson at peoplepc.com, or Venmo, just simply Larry Battson. But Ohio, I mean, I'm going to tell you, the first time I went there was when I met him, and he showed me all this stuff that he had collected, all this information he had made notes of, and so forth. And it was unbelievable. He is by far, in the eastern part of our United States, the number one eyewitness researcher. Has to be. Because of the things that he's dealt with and happened to him. Long before this all begun, all this finding or not finding Bigfoot and all this stuff. And I know there are people listening out there right now that are saying to themselves, well, I've been following a particular series of events for many years. And I know there's somebody out there that has gathered so much information, it would just blow us away. It's a couple of them I've talked to, I think. Just blow us away. But they decide to keep it secret. They don't think anybody believed them that something walked up to their window about 2 o'clock in the morning. And they looked over at their air conditioner. And around their air conditioner, they had panels of styrofoam because they didn't have a lot of money to really do it right. And they're laying there in bed. And this is on the second floor of their house. They're laying there in bed. And they can see those styrofoam planks being pushed in from the outside, from the second floor. And when they walk up to it, they put their hand on that styrofoam. They said all they could say is they felt a tremendous force behind it. By the time they're laying in bed, they can hear something in their garage. They're thinking, oh my gosh, it's raccoon, it's something vermin has gotten in there, is in my garage, tearing up who knows what. And he reaches over to turn on the light and then turn on the radio real loud to scare it out. But all he hears is this tremendous crash. And he runs down, and it's already left. But there on the garage floor was all these styrofoam planks. And in these planks of styrofoam were these human-like footprints. and the PVC pipe was broken at the elbow. The strongest part of that pipe in a split second was broke just like this, and it was suspended from being with airline cable, and whatever it was broke that as well. People would come to his house. They'd drive up his little driveway, and as they're driving up the driveway, it was so rough they had to slow down. And they would slow down only to look in the rearview mirror and see something run behind their car. It was tall. Looked like a person. And they'd pull up to his house and they'd say, is your party inside or outside? You know, we're all inside. It's a little chilly tonight. Well, something ran behind my car. And he would think to himself, well, I could tell you, but then again, I think I'll just keep my mouth shut. He had decided. Lisa's in Mooresville. Hello, Walt, Indianapolis. Thank you, Amy. We're glad to be better. My bucket light isn't on. I know. That's right, Lisa. Very good. That's right. Hi, Jeff. Your thing is going out because of my hospital time. We're kind of behind, but yours is going out. What's going out? His print. He's ordered. Well, you know, he was brave enough to order. It's signed and packaged. All I got to do is make my rear end of the mailbox. But this one right here, he had the guts to order this one. And he'll probably hang it proudly somewhere where somebody will think, what the? What the heck is that? But it's great seeing and hearing from you as well, Jeff. Hello, Amanda. Nice to have you with us. And people have said, oh, I'm glad you're well. Well, I'm glad I'm well, too, because I was, as I've told, I hate to be an old, anyway. Middle of this week, I was called by my doctor, and after my surgery, which removed part of my kidney and a cancerous mass, I'm cancer-free. So it's been a really good week of my life. Yeah. So that's my big announcement for the week, and I don't think I could have an announcement any bigger. Nonetheless, I had a Sasquatch sitting right out there by my window right now, and I could load him up in my animal truck and take him and no, I'd never do that, but it would be fun. You know, I got a message from a young man. He says, it's too bad you could never bring a Bigfoot during your animal show. I said, you know, that's really too bad. But you know, they have that horrendous odor. And one year we lectured with a camel. And in the summertime, in the warmer months, they have an odor which is distinctive. So you'd walk into that gymnasium with that camel, and half the kids are like, "Whoa, well, we're not raising roses here." It's like, but yeah. So, and then there's this guy in Florida. Now I want somebody to investigate this. I read this report. I heard this report. I don't know. But he has stated that his way to bait the Sasquatches was with Great Northern beans. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, if Phil wanted I'm not supposed to laugh a lot because I've got 6 holes in me. But anyway, so you fill one up with Great Northern beans, and between that odor and the odor of the Sasquatch, it'd be pretty brutal. Oh, Lisa says, I would love to see one. Well, you're not too far. Morgan Monroe State Forest. I'll tell you that right now. Morgan Monroe State Forest, and Been going down there since the early 80s, well, the 70s, really. And then it became popular. Then I posted a couple of my reports from there. Now there's a Bigfoot group in there about every weekend. So you'll find friends. I can say that. Jeff says, no worries, Larry, and looking forward to scaring my toddler with that print. Well, and me too. Why is there is something about being scared that many of us like? Well, it's like a roller coaster. You know, it is like a roller coaster. I challenge everyone. I'm being careful, Lisa. I challenge everyone when you go into the woods. Now, don't go where there's like cliffs and stuff, or, you know, places you could fall off and die. You don't do that. But go into the woods without light. Without light. And you will notice after a while, your eyes open up. You can see almost everything. It takes a while. And you need total darkness. So then that gives you kind of the feeling that the Sasquatch has, except his vision is so superior to ours that nighttime is daytime. And as I've said before, and I do not take credit for this, during the day the Sasquatch shares the forest, at night he owns it. Going back to Conneaut, Ohio. I can't get away from there. Have you ever been there? It's almost in Pennsylvania. And I can remember the first time I was there, as I was mentioning earlier. And I'm looking around in these woods, and I've already talked to my friend, and I'm just kind of blown away by all the information he had accumulated. In fact, I just talked to him the other day. And he had behind his home a guy that lived in a trailer. He worked with him as well. They did not work the same shift. This gentleman worked the later shift. But he asked if he could put a trailer behind his house because my friend had so much property. He said, yeah, that's not a problem. We can figure out something there. But the night, he come in the pouring rain, he come running up to the house in his underwear, going, let me in, let me in. The thing's rocking my trailer. So apparently he was laying in bed and he heard breathing, and then the trailer just started rocking, and that's all he needed. He was out of it. And he ran up to my friend's house and was beating on the door to let me in. The things are rocking and rolling tonight. Oh my gosh. It was phenomenal. You know, I get a lot. I think when I said earlier about the Sasquatch, Annabelle. Let's go to Annabelle just for a second. There's a young lady. She's already, she's just begun her long life. And she's already got plans. She wants to be an anthropologist, and she wants to study Bigfoot. She wants to do the sciences. I think that's absolutely unbelievable. Wow, that's great. When I was her age, I was figuring out, how do you catch a bee by the wings without getting stung? That's what I was thinking about. And guess what? I found out how to do it. But these things are so sophisticated, and let's see what Wayne says here. They are so sophisticated that Wayne says, I like to go in the woods. Well, I do too, Wayne. You know what got me going in the woods? Well, I used to fish a lot. Oh, I fish all the time. Well, I remember one summer I fished every day. Then I found out something a lot more exciting than fishing. Not that fishing is not exciting, it is. Not as exciting as snake hunting. Not killing the snakes, catching them alive. That was fun. That was exciting. Especially when you're dealing with timber rattlesnakes and copperheads. That puts a whole new perspective into it. So I spent a lot of time by myself in Morgan Monroe State Forest, around Draper Cabin, around Lost Lake, Prather Lake they call it now, around Low Cap, walking through those woods a lot of times. Let's see, it says here, oh, try going to Low Gap. William's giving Lisa a tip. And Lisa, this is a good one. Try going to Low Gap Trail Primitive Camp or at night around 12 a.m. 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. Make sure you walk past the top. And Lisa says, let's go now. Now would be a good time to go. But here's the deal, though. Nighttime Sasquatch activities, you hear them, but it's not like the daytime. And it is possible to have a sighting in the daytime because look, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimler, my friend who lived right on the boundaries of Morgan Monroe State Forest, Dave Griffin, his sightings weren't at night, they're during the daytime. I remember him talking about that one time. Stand back there in the middle of the woods right behind his house. Well, I say right behind, half a mile, 3/4 of a mile. And he could hear something walking through the woods. So he stood real still by that tree. Didn't move a muscle. Then up over the ridge walks Sasquatch. About 7.5, 8 feet tall. Huge head, no neck. Hair covered, black. And for some reason, the Sasquatch didn't realize he was standing there next to that tree. Didn't see him. But it stopped. And it would just look around and around and around. So finally, it did see him. Because my friend says, hey, you. It stopped instantly. It looked right at him. Now, Dave always carried a weapon when he went back in this forest, like a lot of people do. Myself, I wouldn't. And the moment he looked away from this creature standing there, he ducked down and he said, Larry, he said, this thing doubled back behind me so fast and so quick. I mean, it, excuse me, it ran around and got behind me within just moments. Moments. Just like that, it was around him. My God, that thing was fast. And then it basically let him know by vocalizations, just move out of here, brother. Just move out. It followed Dave all the way back through the forest toward his house. And then when he walked into his own yard and looked back, you could hear it walking back into the woods. That one was in broad daylight. Wayne says, I saw one on 121 in Morrow County Road in Ohio. Or, excuse me, 121 Morrill. Tony, well, basically, Wayne says that this thing was playing hide and seek with him, which reminds me instantly of my friend I haven't seen for years now, who's a Native American, and that's what he would do. In fact, he was one of the first people to go to Conneaut, my friend's house, and he would stay there. And he would go back into the forest, and he described that perfectly. He said, I could hear them, and they were walking. It was like we were playing hide and seek. He said, there'd be 2 or 3 of them. He said, I know I was just a few feet from them. He said, they'd play their games. You know, and they can whistle. Here's the thing when you're in the woods, and many of you will know what I'm talking about. Sound bounces around you. It bounces off the trees, it bounces off the vegetation, it bounces around you. One very good example I can remember when we had our African lion. We have a huge forest that we own right here by our property, untouched. Untouched. Never had a tree cut down. It's Mother Nature's. Well, we had this African lion that would roar. And when it would roar, the ground would shake. But when you were back in that woods and she'd start roaring because she would see me, you felt like you were surrounded by them. That they were all around you. Those sounds that they would make. And you know, the Sasquatch has the ability to make these roaring sounds from a really high tone to a loud, shrill tone. They can do that. So loud and so powerful that when you hear that, you realize that there is no animal that we know of that can make that sound except an 8-foot bipedal Sasquatch. That's it. No bear, no wolf, no elk, no coyote, nothing. And the ones that have heard it know exactly what I'm talking about. Lisa says, I have friends that say they go to Virginia. Virginia, yes. Virginia is a great, great, great area. Wild Virginia, my old friend Billy Willard. And my nieces live in Virginia. What beautiful country that is. But it's the perfect habitat. Christy says, Red River Gorge, Kentucky, shared with you last week. Continue to hear things, always right at dusk. 7:30, 8:30 nights before last was the craziest. Well, try and get some recordings, Christy. Use your phone. Get some recordings, send them my way, if you would, and we'll play them. Then we can, and if other people, we'll share notes. That's what we'll do. People that are watching and listening to this program can hear those recordings, and it might be the same things that they've heard. You know, maybe. I've got the recordings. I have the recordings. Gosh, Shannon's going to be really mad. Shannon, one of our regular viewers, goes to work at midnight. So she has to walk from her house to her car in the dark. And I've been told that when she hears these recordings, it's chilling. But these are the ones from Washington. Now, as I've said before, the recording is not that great of a quality. But behind the birds and the insects and the early morning sounds, you can hear these distinctive screams of what we think might be a Sasquatch. I'm telling you, the guy that tried to tell me those were coyotes, he didn't know who he was talking to. Hello, Wayne. Hello, Michael. Hello, Austin. Nice to have you with us tonight. One of the best eyewitness reports I've ever heard from our good friend Austin Lee down in southern Indiana. Wayne, he says he just... Wayne says, I know, sounds flat more than I think, that more real. Yeah, using real recording. Is that the forestry? Yes, that's the forestry, Lisa. That's Morgan Monroe State Forest. Hello, Angela. Crazy. Hi, Angela. Nice to have you with us. Oh, hey, Christy. Hi, Christy. Hello. Hello, Wayne. Hello. It's become a regular community. It has. It's fantastic. I love it. And I want to remind everyone, check out our Facebook page, Footers Forum. Try to put some of the interesting things that we find, and also the things we are able to drum up. Backbone behind that, the beast behind it, Cody Herring, had some wonderful photographs of footprints he had taken in Morgan Monroe State Forest. So we have lots of that stuff, and also some different interviews we've done, different things involved. So, well, there's Kitty. Kitty says, getting scared makes our brain endorphins go crazy like drugs. Laugh out loud. Yeah. Well, and Wayne does know what a Bigfoot smells like. You're right, Jeff. Jeff says, well, I think I heard him. All other insect and animal noises stopped. It was daytime. I was 7 years old. So who knows? Well, that's true. And, you know, I've heard that at night as well, where you'd be in the forest, especially because when I'd go snake hunting, snake collecting, I should really call it, because we're not killing them. We'd go at night because especially if it was a hot day, we'd run the roads and the heat would gather on the asphalt and the snakes would come out in the asphalt. And that's, you know, that's how we would catch them. And I would think about that some nights. I'm thinking, here I am all by myself in this forest, walking around in the dark. And if we used a flashlight, we used those little flashlights that you could put in your mouth so you still had two hands available. Hello, Donna from South Carolina. Great to have you with us. And we'd have those little flashlights, and so we'd collect snakes. And there's many a night I thought to myself, why aren't we hearing any frogs? Why are we not hearing any insects? Then one night, I was by myself, standing right next to my van. It'd been an okay night collecting snakes. And I heard a scream come out of the forest I could not describe. Now, I couldn't imitate it because I'm not physically able to do so. My vocal cords could never do that. But when I heard that sound, I stood there. I can still remember it was a full moon. You could see every star in the sky. So you could basically see a lot. I'm looking off into the forest. And I go, that makes no sense. Because I know of no animal that lives in the forest of Morgan Monroe State Forest that makes sounds like that we know of. But then when I started talking to some of the locals, they were very aware. They told me of a cave system that ran in that forest. And they also told me stories that the people that lived around there would never, ever, 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 ever consider going into the forestry at night because there was something there that drove them out. Something there, just like the gal that hung up a Toyota Land Cruiser up against a tree and she tried to bounce it off that tree to get it out of that ditch. And they could hear the sounds in the forest. It sounded like mumbles it sounded like. And they'd holler, hey, we need some help here. And they're sitting in that Toyota Land Cruiser and it happens to be in neutral. And her dog, which usually anytime that truck would stop, she'd hop out. This time it stayed in the truck, which made no sense. Then all of a sudden something grabbed the back of that truck and jerked it out of that ditch. And they turned that cruiser around. They drove out to the main road and they drove home. They were going to go camping that night. But something told them they should go home. Lee says, I actually have my wife with me watching your show. Please say hello to her. Her name is Jennifer. Jennifer, hi. Thanks for joining us. God bless you, Jennifer. Does Lee drive you crazy? Huh? No. Seems like a great guy. Good friend. Great guy. Lisa asks, what was it like when anyone came face to face with one? Has anyone had that happen? Yes, I have. I've talked to many people that have been within just a few feet of one. Prather Lake, they're in the forestry for one. And of course, many times the report is those red eyes. Lisa says, me and my friends are going to camp there at Draper Cabin soon. Well, I will tell you that is a spot that in the past is notorious for encounters. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to have one, but let me give you some insight on what to do when you do go camping there. Make it no different than what if you were just going there with friends to just have fun. Do not lurk around in the forest. If you go hikes in the forest, walk like it's a beautiful sunny day, and you're looking for flowers and butterflies, not like you're looking for an 8-foot bipedal animal. And be yourself. Make lots of noise, especially at that cabin. Build a campfire, cook out, play the radio. But make sure that you are yourself. And the chances of you actually having an encounter are greater by a mile. I've told many of these Sasquatch groups, Bigfoot groups, no more camouflage. That marks you as a hunter. You're not going to hide from one. Go to the store and buy you a nice bright colored Hawaiian shirt. Let him know where you're at. Because who knows? He just may want to take a look at you. He may just want to see what you're all about. If you're walking down a trail, he might step out in that trail and look you up and look you down and decide whether he's going to walk off into the forest or make you walk back the other direction. Jeff says, I was with a friend. We heard a scream. All other normal wood sounds stopped. Yeah. We ran all the way back to the house, about 3/4 of a mile through woods and brush. Stand your ground. Talk to them. Do no harm. Absolutely. Hello, Michael. That's advice from Wayne. That's true. It's, avoid eye contact. That's a threat to anything. Eye contact. Your primates, your chimps, your angs, gorillas, and people too. Try it. Next time you're shopping, somebody's walking toward you, look them in the eye. See what they do. If they do look you back in the eye, they'll look away real quick because it's intimidating. And believe me, you do not want to intimidate one of these. No. Amy asks, has a Bigfoot actually hurt someone? Well, there's the old story from Teddy Roosevelt about the beaver trapper, and that they thought may have been harmed by one. In his book, Wilderness Hunter, I believe is the title. I may be wrong. Check it out for sure. But I believe it's Wilderness Hunter. And the second time I've heard about something where a Sasquatch harmed someone was in an Indian reservation up in northern Washington, almost Canada. And these 3 young men went to run the salmon traps. They didn't come back. So the tribal elders went to look for them. All 3 of them they found. The first one was just basically kind of torn apart, left in a pile. The second one was underneath a pile of boulders, too large for any man to carry and stack, or throw, needless to say. The third one, where his body laid, all around in all the trees, what it looked like it had happened is something that grabbed him by the ankles and beat him up against all those trees, because there was brain tissue on all those trees. And that was really that was the heaviest, I should say that was the heaviest report I've ever received on that. Lisa says, yeah, we're just going to hang out, listen, just build a fire. That's what you need to do. Yeah. And Alaska at the cannery. Well, yeah. And well, that Shannon is a story that we really need to delve into. The Alaskan reports up there in, God, I can't even think of that. I can't see my notes. It's dark. But yeah, we'll get into that next week again. We talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago, how basically a whole town left because of their fear of the Sasquatches that lived in the mountains around them, and how people had just plain disappeared. And finally, they'd had enough, and everybody just left. I mean, it was a viable commerce going on there, a business, production. Yeah, the old man who shot a Bigfoot off of a cliff. His cabin was under attack the next night. Yeah, of course, that's the Ape Canyon. Fred Beck, 1924, I believe, was the year. Yeah. Dwayne says, I believe in them. Dwayne, I just know they're real because I've just been doing this too long, talked to too many people. I have no doubts. Lisa says, oh, this might be the comment of the night. I think I would freeze and crap my pants when I see one. What about that, Annabelle? Annabelle wouldn't know. But I'm a paranormal investigator and I love it. Well, this is a whole different little lumber here. This is a whole different, yeah. But Morgan Monroe State Forest, regardless, is a beautiful place. And I say any way to get people enjoying the outdoors, whether it's picnicking, hiking, photography, bird watching, or Sasquatch hunting, do it, Nobody's business. What do they know? You get somebody who looks at you, you believe in that stuff? So what, buddy? Angela says, where have you worked? What parks? Angela, I've never worked for a park. I've worked for myself. We created a job 42 years ago doing educational wildlife programs. And what gave me credibility with the Sasquatch was my good friend Jim Fowler from the old television program Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. He went to Russia and he talked to Russian guides when they were making a documentary on the Russian brown bear. And these guides had seen them. And in Russia, the science, they look at the Sasquatch a whole lot differently than we do. Dwayne says, are there any in Indiana? I think so. In southern, yeah, Dwayne, absolutely. We've had reports. Well, southern Indiana a lot. So Hoosier National Forest, Pike National Forest, all those wild areas, there's been reports from there. And Wayne says, I came face to face. This creature will, yeah, Wayne says, I came face to face with one. Angela says, yeah, I watched that as a kid. I did too, Angela. Much of Omaha's Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins and Jim Fowler. Well, yeah, well, well, Jim wrestles the bear. Marlon will be in the cabin with the local tribe. I don't know where I'm going with this. Having beverages, yeah, okay. Shoals area, yes, Dwayne, absolutely. Yeah. Mock Port, says Lee. Yes, agree with every one of you. I had a wonderful audience tonight. I want to remind everyone, hey, I haven't necessarily left this setup yet. Yeah, Bigfoot is not a killer. I agree with you, Wayne. Our piece of art feel like something watching you? Oh, yeah. And also our latest one to be released. It's called Sasquatch. Several of you already have one, have ordered one, have gotten yours. This one also is available. Yes. Amy asked, do you think they live in family groups? Well, they do. And boy, he says that so confident. Well, they do. I mean, there is no, from your apes, from your tribes in New Guinea, they all live in groups for survival. They do. And if you see one, there's 2, 3, 4 you don't see. And that's the big problem with people that have actually had a Sasquatch in their gun sights. And when they look at that face, which to them looks somewhat human-like, but when they look at the size of it, and they look at this thing, it's just, to them, they just cannot conceive, they just tried to conceive what they're looking at. Nothing happens, except if they pull that trigger, they have doubts whether that one bullet will even slow it down. How come they are so elusive? Well, Dwayne, I would absolutely say because they want to be. Want to be, yes. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. You can also go to Larry Battson Animal Guy Art Studio. I have all my animal wildlife art on there, and everything's available in a print. Just message me through Larry Battson or Larry the Animal Guy and Friends or Larry Battson Animal Guy Art Studios. And you can order any print and find out how much, and we'll do that. Have you had contact discussions with so-called mainstream scientists who are interested in this subject? I've had quite a few conversations with Doc Meldrum, Jeffrey Meldrum. He's probably the #1 scientist that has basically sacrificed his career because of his belief in this. So he's going to be shown one day. He's going to be shown that he was right. Dwayne says, I always watch Finding Bigfoot. Well, Dwayne, that's fantastic. I know it's gotten a lot of youngsters interested in it. Got a lot of people interested in going to the outdoors. I strongly suggest, though, you watch Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. Watch that documentary. And I saw one, in fact, I think we put it on the Footers Forum documentary with Renee DeHinden. Watch that. Really, they should have named the show Not Finding Bigfoot. Yeah, that should have been. In fact, what we'll do is I will post my interviews. I think I have 2 or 3 interviews, hour-long interviews with Dr. Meldrum on our Footers Forum page in the next couple of days. So if you go there, you'll see that, and you can listen to those programs. And also, I did the last podcast that Dr. Meldrum and Todd Standing had done for their podcast. And I had a chance to chat with them for an hour or so. And that's available. If you just Google Larry Battson, Jeff Meldrum, Todd Standing, you'll come up with that interview. And that went that went pretty well. I'm reading and trying. I like the story of Mount St. Helens. Yeah, Mount St. Helens is, of course, there was activity there for years and years. Well, 1924, that's where Eight Canyon is at. That's where Fred Beck and a group of other miners got driven out of the wilderness. So yeah, absolutely. Loved watching the mountain monsters. Bill is great. That that was total entertainment. that was total. Because think about this. I'm sorry. You know, they built these traps. And the one guy, his specialty was building the traps. I don't know who it was. Because I never made it through a whole show, I don't think. But I'm thinking, I'm looking at this huge trap made out of logs and whatever, and it's got a trap door. And I said, there's no way Sasquatch would wander into that. Oh my gosh. Lee Stroud, I haven't had a chance to. Dwayne says, I think Channel 8 lets you do a report. Yeah, we did a couple Bigfoot stories on Channel 8 from Indianapolis. Absolutely. Les Stroud, I have not. Good evening, Eric Altman. We were talking about there. I'm feeling great. I have to tell you that after my surgery, that I'm now cancer-free. They found a mass on my left kidney, and they removed the mass as well as part of my kidney, and I'm on the road to recovery. So we're looking to get some stuff done. Once I get more mobile, see, I'm not supposed to lift anything. I'm supposed to sleep a lot. So, yeah. Mountain Monsters was stupid. Well, you know how it is. Sasquatch is smarter than that. Well, he most certainly is. Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on the Mountain Monsters. We had a great time tonight. We had a fantastic time. I want to remind everyone that on Wednesday night we're here with Animal Stories. 41 years of traveling all across this country of ours with a truckload of various wild animals. Here's a couple stories, and we tell them on Wednesday nights, and also answer your questions, your critter questions, we call them. Starting Monday. Monday it starts again at 3 o'clock for all the youngsters of any age. Animal art. Fun. We draw animals. I show you how to draw animals. And that happens on every day, 3 o'clock, Monday through Friday. Yeah, so hope you join us for there. Once again, I want to thank everyone for all the wonderful messages and prayers that I received as I went into this medical procedure. And we're going to be okay. And we're going to be all right. And once again, I have to thank that young lady in northern Indiana, Annabelle, my best friend, and for all the prayers that she would give us around the dinner table and at church. It was very humbling. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We always enjoy Friday nights. This is Larry Battson reporting from the remote jungles of. Oh, wait a minute here. Has there been any recent activity in Conneaut, Ohio? Eric, there has, and I'll tell you what. I'll message you my phone number. I'll be up for a bit. Call me tonight, but we're going to talk about it next week as well, about Ohio, and we'll have a good time. Yes, I think I'm going to go to bed. This is Larry, the Animal Guy. And have a wonderful weekend. It looks like the weather's going to be absolutely glorious. And God bless, and we love each and every one of you.